Yeah, look, tell me what's the vibes, what's the mood? Yeah, I just hit up Mikey for the juice. Yeah, ain't no capping, I'ma tell the truth. I've been winning for so long, it's hard to lose. Deal, be my source, Christian like Dior. Yeah, I can't start when I'm far, just get back up. Yeah, I've been quiet all along on my TP toes. Yeah, I can't keep it to myself, I just give and go. I'm a visionist, yeah, you can't picture this. Yeah, ain't no way you cannot work me, boy, I live for this. Yeah, sipping essential, that's the essentials, I'm influential. Yeah, straight fundamental, that's fundamental, on instrumentals. Yeah, speed of the tempo, yeah, we got potential. Shoot a movie like I'm Denzel, running my route to the end zone. And they sticking to find me, man, you know where to find me. I'm tryna get me a Grammy so I can dedicate it to my granny. Look, tell me what's the vibes, what's the mood? Yeah, I just hit up Mikey for the juice. Yeah, ain't no capping, I'ma tell the truth. I've been winning for so long, it's hard to lose. Deal, be my source, Christian like Dior. Yeah, I can't start when I'm far, just get back up. Yeah, I've been quiet all along on my TP toes. Yeah, I can't keep it to myself, I just give and go. Yeah, I just turn my L's into W's. Yeah, I just told my sins, yeah, I'm done with you. Yeah, stay in your lane, don't you pick and choose. I can't waste my time, I got a lot to lose. To the game that we all on, they was doubting us all along. Now we charting in Hong Kong, what competition, they all gone. Bless, stress, play the game like it's chess. We next, that's a check, over stripes, yeah, yeah. Look, tell me what's the vibes, what's the mood? Tell me what's the vibes, what's the mood?
Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to our bi-weekly live stream. And it's your boy Freeze hanging out in the Decepticon lab today. And today, I just want to talk about a little bit of the preparation that I've been doing for just getting ready for HQ18. Now, I know a couple of the content creators already started putting out some videos telling you kind of a little bit of what to expect of what they're doing to prepare. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I also want to try to take a look at the new C.O.M.B.A.T bot that we've got out there, just to just kind of see what you think of him a little bit. So we'll take a peek at that as well. But before we do, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this week's newsletter for this week's event. Alright, so right there I've got, let me switch that up. Alright, so let's go back up to the top. And so this week we have, it's week 3 of our saga, and the event is going to be called X Marks the Vault. So that's going to be a 1 million point event. And yeah, you know, pretty good prizes it looks like. Let me scroll down to them. Alright, so Super XP, 1 million points. And so you're going to get a chance to get up to 750 5-star combat shards, which I'm always happy about. They're very hard to come by, it seems like, but becoming a little bit easier to come by with the Cyber Pass, as well as the way the apes are staggering the events. So 2,500 4-star shards, 7,500 3-star shards, and 50,000 premium crystal shards, a G1 G metal power core chip, 3 bot G metal power core chips, and up to 7 gold power chips, 2,000 K of combat spark and regular spark. And there you can also see the tree. And yeah, it's typical prize tree. And it says it's kind of glitching out on me today. All right, let's see. All right, so some other information we get up here. So the apes currently have a they had like a survey just to see which characters from G1 that you want to see in the game. And so if you go in there and do that, then as always they have like giveaways for people that they select to get, in this case, 500 5-star shards, and I'll be lucky 3 winners for that. So that'll be good. And we also have, man, this newsletter's really glitching out on me today, but and they also got some of the artwork up here for HQ18. And so if you hadn't seen the newsletter, they've actually got pictures of the HQ. For some of the official content creators, they've actually released some more images for HQ18. It's still in work by the developers. And so that's kind of what we're looking at from that standpoint. Obviously, there's going to be more stuff, right? I know I was talking to some players earlier, and they were just like, all right, well, they just going to repaint some stuff and that's it. Now, it's definitely going to be more stuff to come. But as of right now, one thing that they're pointing out is that there's going to be just different, kind of like a different skin that's going to come up there for the new Titans as they come out. So that'll be a good addition. And honestly, at this point, it's anyone's guess what else is gonna happen after that. So we'll see how it goes, man. I think it's gonna be a pretty fun time, and it's gonna bring some new challenges. Tells you about all the content creators, the official content creators, and where you can try to see some of this information. Sunstreaker Waza, I already did one video on how to prepare for HQ18. It's actually pretty good. I'm gonna talk about, like I said, some of that stuff that I think is worth looking at also, but we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Yeah, Arrow DJ Heart had some stuff as well, and so yeah, really just gotta check these guys out and see what information they gave them. A lot of images and stuff directly from C.O.M.B.A.T. But really, that's the bulk of the news. I said, for whatever reason, my computer's doing something weird with the newsletter. But you know, they always got some of the community corner stuff up there also. So check that out if you hadn't seen the newsletter already. I'll try to leave a link for it down in the description in my video. But all right. So HQ18 on the horizon, and it's a lot of patterns that I'm already starting to see in terms of things that C.O.M.B.A.T is actually introducing to the game in order to kind of prepare us for a little bit. And so I'm gonna go to the game screen real quick, and I'm gonna share with you a couple of items that I've been seeing. And I'm gonna start off by looking at the Titan tech tree, particularly on the offensive side. So, and I'm looking at all the different tiers, and I've been following these tiers pretty closely for a little while. But one of the things that I saw is that, you know, some of the stuff they had up there early, you know, you had to unlock each of these levels, and there's some of the stuff, yeah, it's nice to have, but I mean, warrior attack, minion attack, yeah, they made them a little bit stronger, but, you know, most of them go up to like 15%. You get airstrike specifically against the shield generator. I mean, I find that actually to be helpful, but it took a long time to unlock a lot of this stuff. And what I'm noticing is when you get down to the bottom tiers, like tier 9 special, so it took a long time to get special class ability, because a lot of people honestly are using special class, I feel like, a little bit more than some of the other classes. And if you just saw my video I put out on Monday, that's actually a pretty good representation of my war team. I was doing some sack strategy videos. That's my primary strategy that I use. And to be honest, that team is pretty heavy on that special class because it also includes triple changes, which I have astral train on that team. So by default, when I first came in there this week, I went ahead and made sure that I just loaded up on that special class ability damage. And I actually want to kind of run a demonstration. Just if you guys have been watching my videos and you see me play with Impactor a little bit, he's actually already really good, but I actually started using him a lot more heavily, and just in the addition to having him maxed out, in addition to having his ability maxed out and having the tech tree. So I just want to kind of take a look at just how powerful that tech tree really is. So I'm gonna go into zone 14 where I usually go use Impactor, and I'm gonna jump out for a second. But yeah, that 15% on those special class bots are already pretty impressive to begin with. And so yeah, for me, I really enjoyed them. I'm just gonna go ahead because this one should be pretty easy to solo. But I kind of like that it's an auto cannon down here, because what I notice is the time it's taking to bring this stuff down is actually getting a lot faster, and I can get to the point of attack for just more defenses quickly off of that special class tech tree. So definitely finding a lot of value in it. And there's some other good ones down there. You know, they put later on, I think it was tier 8, where they started doing like the warrior stun immunity. And I noticed a lot of the really good ones that you want to use are later on in that tech tree. And I think that's deliberate, honestly. I think, and I might be wrong, I hadn't talked to Space 8 themselves about it, but I have talked to the playtesters about it a little bit. And what I think is going on is that there's some preparation that they want you to have. Because the last time, you know, it's been a while since we had a base upgrade. You know, that HQ 17.5, you know, 17.5 was a little bit of a upgrade. But, you know, it was really that's when we started to, you know, change some of the stuff, you know, with the MDS, and we started to get the spider mines and everything like that. It kind of changed things a little bit. And so I think that that's one of those areas when we go to that tech tree that we're really looking at and saying, hey, this is trying to close that gap, close the transition into what we're looking for HQ 18. And I say, I'm just looking around in the chat, and I see Kill Cannon said he's going to be in and out. So, you know, thanks for joining. Mike Robertson just joined the chat. Hey, thanks for tuning in. And we're just talking about some of the changes because they're going to add a HQ level to the game. And I'm just looking at the Titans that they have for the level 17 players and seeing how they can use those to prepare for headquarters level 18. So when I look at tier 10, one of the other things I look at is the air class attack. I definitely want to use those just because on my team, you know, I use that 5-star blast off maxed out, and I think that that's going to be something I'm going to use, especially if you have Crater Maker, or really Crater Maker or Fireline on those on your cons, then you want to get that additional attack power for that, or just in general if you use a lot of gunners. I mean, if you want to use your air class as a type of gunner. So yeah, and actually warrior stun immunity was on tier 9 also. So yeah, gunner attack, you know, you're gonna make your gunners more powerful. I think all of these are mechanisms that they're using in order to try to get us ready for the HQ 18 upgrade. Now, there's some other things that I'm looking at also, and I want to go and look. So when when the CyberPass started, one of the things that I was looking at also, it was more of the CyberPass and the rewards that are within the CyberPass. So we're going to look at the rewards real quick. And one of the things I noticed, I actually go show you in my inventory. That'll be a little bit easier. But in my inventory, I have a lot of build and upgrade skips. So that's one for all 6 of the CyberPasses. And one thing that I'm looking at for that build and upgrade is it's going to take a lot of resources at first, because I'm going to do a lot of upgrades in the beginning. I'm going to skip them, and I'm going to need the Z Energon in order to make sure that I can do multiple upgrades. Because I'm going to upgrade one, I'm going to skip it, and then I'm going to need to do another upgrade behind that. And so, like I mentioned before on here, that cap for Z Energon, as you can see in the top right hand corner, is 3 million. I'm almost halfway there. I still got a little bit of Z farming that I can do on this particular go around. But at the same time, I think it's wise to load up on your Z Energon, because you're gonna need it. If anybody remembers the grind up to HQ 17 and HQ 17 and a half, it consumes some Z Energon. So get that maxed out. And in the meantime, what you want to do is, if you go up to, not your Shanix store, you want to go up to your resources, and if you find yourself getting close to that maximum, go in there and get some XP points for your bots, because I believe, and C.O.M.B.A.T can probably confirm this on their stream tomorrow, but I believe they were saying before that they're going to add some additional levels to the bots. So they were talking about possibly adding 2 levels, levels 66 and 67, and so you're going to want to kind of fast track some of those bots, because typically when a new HQ level comes out, it gets kind of frustrating for players at times. It gets a little bit more difficult, and I honestly think that this tech tree and it's here to kind of assist and close that gap a little bit. Even though we know at the higher levels, a lot of focus is on the war effects and everything, and things like that, to try to make it a little bit more difficult. Which right now, from a playtest standpoint, we're in the process of trying to decide what war effects should go into the game, working with C.O.M.B.A.T on that. But yeah, man, I've got some rough spots that I'm looking at in my tech tree, just because I hadn't done the combiner ability damage yet. That's probably going to be one. That's one that anybody can use to be competitive. Medic heal, I probably need to boost up a little bit. I was kind of waiting around on that a little bit, because I knew they were going to change some stuff with medics, but then they wind up giving us medic shield, which I also want to do. And I got to prioritize some stuff, man, because I still hadn't done all of my air class ability damage. And to make it even worse, I got a lot of stuff up here on my Titan perks that I hadn't taken care of yet either. Titan attack still needs increased, Titan increased speed, and Titan health, which would explain some of the issues that I've probably been having with some Titans, both in wars. And one of the big topics that came up earlier this week is that C.O.M.B.A.T, and one of the things I didn't cover on the newsletter is C.O.M.B.A.T was saying that they were having some issues with people in Titan Assault, and so they're supposed to be pushing a content fix for Titan Assault this go around. So look for that soon. Just because I think, and primarily a lot of the playtesters started saying something about how the Titan Assault mode just wasn't working very well. People would just do weird stuff, like one week they'd be in level 18 Titan and beat the level 20 Titan. Then the next week they got level 19 and can't beat the Titan. Next, a couple weeks later, they in level 20, can't beat the Titan, but they beat them one week using the same strategy, because there's been a lot of videos that's come out that tell you how to beat the level 20 Titan. I still haven't beaten them yet, and I probably should have conserved at least one of my chances for when the content push came. So that's kind of a negative on my part. I should have just held off, but hopefully by the next week after the content push, they can go in there and they can get that settled and get us where we need to be. But I guess the big thing is that Titan perks weren't being affected in Titan Assault, and that's what was kind of messing us up. So we'll see how that goes. All right. So let's see what else we want to take a look at. I didn't look at my defense perks. I'm gonna look at those. So yeah, I still got quite a bit of defense perks too. But I got to a point where I had a lot of those stuff because that shock tower hack immunity, I definitely want to get that, but it's kind of it's high on my priority list, but it's like not as high as some of those attack perks that I need, just because I'm not defending like every single battle. But I would really like to go in there and get more of, if you look at the front half of my base, I've actually got one of those shock tower power cores, the EMP shock. So I want to use I want to have one of those for each one of my shock towers, since it's not going to be hackable anymore, and I think that'll be a good thing for use on my defense. But yeah, so definitely work on your Titan tech tree, and definitely just work on your bots, just because I think one of the things that's going to happen with the next meta, I think warriors, I think that class is going to become relevant again. And so we'll talk about that by going to test out this new bot. So let me go back to the lab real quick. I'll switch over to my test server and we can take a look at just what's going on with this new bot, because it's actually going to be a bot, another bot that's going towards the warrior class a little bit. And so I think that's what's going to, this is why I kind of predict that there's going to be an increase in positive things that are going to happen for the warrior class. So, all right, so I am logged into the test server, and let's take a look at the newest combat bot. And so for me, that newest combat bot is named Zori. And yeah, you know, this is what he does. And I can't see. I think right now I've currently got him attached to Soundwave. Yeah, I do. And there's some visual stuff that's going on with the test server right now. So until that gets fixed, you can't see, like right now I can't see the bots that I've got everybody attached to. But so this is what I've got the maxed out Zori. Causes a rock slide, dealing 80% of the equipped bots DPS value. And if you guys saw this, it's already on the wiki so that you can actually take a better look at his stats and abilities. And yeah, so it gives damage to enemies around your target. And for this maxed out 5-star, it actually gives you 32% damage. Now, I will say, now it kind of brings me to another topic. Last week, I wound up doing a video on my top 10 combat bots, and that's current time. One of the things that I was looking at one of the questions that I actually got was about CATGUT being left off the list. So I'll walk you through how I came to some of those conclusions on my combat bot video. And even though I kind of laid out the criteria for you last time, one of the things I was looking at is this. So CATGUT, right? So I love CATGUT. I still use CATGUT on my war team, to be honest. And one of the things that I was looking at is, all right, so I got a maxed out 5-star here on my test server. That's 27.5% additional damage to your normal damage boost, right? And the additional perk is that you get that robotic feline. So when I go let's look at Zori. So right out the gate, 32%. So that's, what's that, 4.5% more damage for Zori. Let's look at maxed out 5-star Baru, which I also had a video on. If you haven't seen it, go check it out in my on my channel. But yeah, he's also 32%. And when I'm starting to look around, and I'm going to try to show you, I'm going to unequip Zori so that you can see the bots that he equips to. And like I said, there's a lot of visual stuff going on here that you can't see the pictures of the bots on the test server, but you can see their names. And these are a lot of your tankier bots. So you got some of your tanks and some of your special class that are able to equip Zori. Same thing for Baru, and same thing for, so a lot of those bots. The same thing for Catgut, really. But with Catgut being older, there's been a push to make a little bit more damage, get a little bit more out of your combat bots. And so the selling point for me on Catgut and why he got an honorable mention instead of making it into my top 10 is that there are bots out here that are now stronger than he is. But his selling point is still high because he still got that robotic feline. That saved me a bunch of times. And so yeah, I just equipped Zori on Soundwave, and I tested him on some bots, but I want to test him on more bots. So just to see if that's when just to see if that's what I want to do when he actually comes out this week. So we'll go ahead and I'll actually see let me see if I can actually see him on Soundwave. Yeah, you can actually see him up there on the front. And I'm gonna take myself out the screen because my face is kind of blocking them down there on the bottom. But that's there with him and his minions and Zori. And so he's just gonna kind of be like another one of those types that's gonna be like a axe type 4. And so we can take a peek and then see what he looks like. Alright, I'm gonna have to shuffle some stuff around. I got some stuff on there that I didn't want everybody to look at. So hold on for a second. And let's see. Who do I want to put on this team? I'll put Ramjet back on there. And yeah. So I'll take a look. Now I just want to see what this guy looks like standalone. I'll do a base trial. Just so we can kind of see what Zori looks like. And I just lost connection to my device, so give me a second. Alright, there we go. So we'll run a base trial and we will see what Zori looks like. But ultimately, what I think is going on is I think that if you look at the history of what's been happening with the warrior class, I think right now there's a huge push to try to fix the warrior class per se, and so that's gonna be kind of the driving factor for. So I'm gonna run Ramjet. I'm trying to get my motion sensing minds cleared. And then our Soundwave is gonna actually be my carrier for Zori. And he's also got my Quintus in addition to all his minions. So he's pretty powerful. I'll drop some minions to help out. Yeah, and when I look at him, I'm kind of thinking something similar to. Oh yeah, they gotta add a good visual for him. But I'm kind of looking at like kind of like how they did Pterodactyl. Even though Pterodactyl gave you some of that healing, so you'll be losing a little bit of that with Zori. But putting him on a special class like Soundwave, he's actually putting up quite a bit of damage. So I kind of like it on him. Like I said, I might have to go try. I might have to go try a of other couple of other bots on it. When I ran it before, I ran it on Polygon. That was already a good one. I mean, Polygon's already a really, really solid bot. But that's also one of those things I want to talk about because honestly, all right, hold on, my dog going crazy. But yeah, like one of the bots I was looking at is, so when you look at the history of bots, when you look at how they've been, when you look at the warrior class, it's some key events that kind of change things a little bit. And so I start off by looking at the force field disruptor. The force field disruptor kind of changed the game a little bit for your warrior class bots, and I'm gonna show you why. Because when I go look at my warriors, I'm actually gonna flip back, so I'm gonna go back to the main server. I'll go back to my normal game server, and I want to look at some of the warrior class bots that I actually started off with, kind of fell in love with, probably in my HQ14, HQ15 days. Like, I remember when the combat bots first got released into the game, and that was the first time I really started putting together war tactics, because I wanted to just get better at the game, get better at the wars. Yeah, and so the first true strategy I started using was that walk team. And I'll tell you, and they got neglected over the years, because when I look at my warriors, the first one that I was really, really high on like that was Headstrong. And that's because he had that little shield. Now, when I look at Headstrong now, and we'll go see some of the stats I have on my 4-star. I just wanted that shield to protect my team. And so when I was talking to C.O.M.B.A.T, when I was talking to them, I think it was last week, they were asking us what makes a good warrior class bot. One of the things that we were saying was, I just want them to protect my team, man. Like, I want them to actually shield that team. And so this is the Headstrong that I started off with when I first started trying to be competitive in wars. Got him up to, he's coming up close on level 16. But one of the things that I noticed is they added this new abilities to all the warrior class. So that was an attempt to try to make the warrior class better, give them some more attacking power. And I said at the time, I said, look, I'm not a fan of trying to improve a bot. I'm trying to think how I want to say this. I want to make improvements to the bot that are good at their primary areas of responsibility. That's always my focal point. So, like, if I was putting power cores on a bot, if I was putting power core on a warrior, I want to do something that's going to make him stronger, make him have higher health, and keep him around longer. And so at the time, Headstrong was getting it done because I was playing in like Silver League, Gold League, something like that. You know, I was still kind of coming up in the game. And then they started adding like new abilities, because he just had a shield at first, and they added this corrosive charge, and they're supposed to add more attacking power to him. And that's cool. I'm not going to turn down more attacking power. But they did that for a lot of these guys. But I had already left Headstrong behind. I had started using this guy here. I had started using this 4-star Tantrum. And I liked them so much, and started building good war strategies using him, that I actually went ahead and pursued that 5-star. And I went through that entire batch. You know, I went up there and got Octone, who is a pretty good bot, but it's not a bot that's going to make my war line up anytime soon. And, you know, I just went through. Now, one thing that was lucky, I did go up there and pull Ramjet, and I didn't know that I needed him at the time. So I'm thankful for that, because I started using him for the sack strategies later on. But I got this 5-star, and I took him all the way to level 10. And when I took him to level 10, Like I took him to level 10. Like on the first day, I saved all my sparkles. My first time just hoarding spark, and I said, "Hey, I'm gonna get this tantrum soon." He was the last one that I got out of that batch. And I took him all the way to level 10, and I said, "Oh man, I'm gonna get the Z Energon. I'm gonna take him to ability 11." And I never did that. I actually put him on ability 11 today, because I do believe wholeheartedly that Warrior's making a comeback, and this is going to be one of the better ones that I got. I probably could do some work with the combats, but when I look at like Baru, when I look at like Zori, and I say, well, is that actually going to be the best idea to put them on? Is that going to be the best idea to put them on an actual tank, or is it going to be better on a special class? So as you guys have seen already, and I showed you earlier in the video, I've already got Impactor up there. So maybe, just maybe it's time for me to, dust Tantrum off, start working on my tactics with him a little bit. So that's what I started doing earlier today. And I'm actually going to take another run with him now. So like, hold on for a second, because I want to test out that ability 11 that I gave him and see how that's going to work for him. Because I really didn't test it that much earlier. But I think he's going to, and you can see I've already set him up on his team. I think he's going to become relevant again. But going on with my story, so I took him to level 10, and then FFD came out. And I was like, man, this sucks. Like and I still had him on war team. I was going to try to force him in there because I had invested in him so heavily. I leveled him up. I got him up to level 50 in like a day. I had him to level 60 in like a couple of weeks. I had one of the fastest that I've done besides Impactor and Soundwave. And one of the things I was looking at is he had multiple counters really, because the FFD took away his power core. Took away the ability of his special ability because it dropped his shield. And then motion sensing mines got introduced, and I was like, okay, well, he could trip over one of those. And I was like, man, this kind of sucks. And so I stopped using him. I took him off my war team. I started focusing on other tactics. And I'm trying to get my dog to calm down a little bit, so just be patient with me. I said, this is him. He's out there barking at people outside. So say hi. This is Bud. Say hi, Bud. Yeah, look at that way in the camera. So, hey, Just Elite just joined. Hey, thanks for joining, man. I was just telling these guys my dog out here being busy and messed up one of my attempts. I was talking about how the warrior class kind of needs an overhaul. They kind of need an overhaul, and I think that Space Ape is working on an overhaul for these new bots, these warrior class bots, and they're doing that through the new combats. They're doing that through the Titan tech tree, and stuff like that. Mike Robertson says his wife likes the dog, and it's like, and yeah, Just Elite kind of shares that. But yeah, man, so it's funny, man. So I got this dog. I got Bud when I first got to the place that I live at now, and he was actually a puppy from a family friend. So he's small, man. He's about 13 pounds, and if you guys that know me, I'm like 6'4", man. So I'm always this big gigantic guy. This is walking around with this little tiny dog, and it's like, why would you pick a dog that small? But he's cool, man, and he actually takes up a lot of my temperament, and so he just so yeah, he's small, but he's feisty, and so he starts seeing people near the house. There's a playground behind our house, and he's like, hey, why are there people near my house? And that's why he started acting up. So now he's just sitting on my lap, hanging out, trying to calm down a little bit. But yeah, man, so he's a little guy, but yeah, bro. But yeah, going back to this thing about the warrior class. Yeah, now I agree with you, just Elite. Like they Warriors do need more of a buff. And that's the kind of the point that I was talking about. Like with the with the DPS, I think by nature they're gonna have to give them more DPS, and I think they're doing that more so through the use of combat bots. And like when you think about it, when we were looking at combat bots earlier, the last couple of combat bots, the last couple of major thing changes in the game period have been more about warrior class. So when you look at it, and we go look at the new combats that have come out, so we had Baru, and Baru, you know, warrior class and special class, just because the apes know that we're not using those warrior class bots. Like, I don't know if they have any specific data, but it's come up as a point of conversation a lot of times. And so we look at the new combat bot that's coming out this week, Zori, same thing. Warrior class, special class. You know, we're talking about 32% damage increases for these. So I think that's the way that they're going about trying to make the warriors relevant again. The issue is FFD came into the game, and I was telling everybody the story about like how I was running Tantrum because I want to see what it looks like with FF. You know, I stopped using them because of the FFD, and I'm trying to take a look at it. I just put his ability 11 up there today because I think that Warriors are going to make a comeback, and I think that I might be able to take out some of those build bots for the FFD. So yeah, so Just Elite saying the same thing is like, hey, I generally use hotspot. So yeah, that would be your Autobot equivalent to Tantrum. And same thing that I said, G1 core. So where I get them at, because that G1 core is actually pretty. It's actually pretty powerful. Oops, I accidentally went to slipstream. So yeah, man. All right, I'm back. I said this guy saw another dog and started going crazy again. But that's what we're looking at. We got that reflective shield. So, and this is one of the things that I started using more so for my I started using it more so for when the Titan first came out. And I said, oh man, I'm gonna use Tantrum. I'm gonna send them off to one side, and I'm gonna let them reflect some of that damage on the Titan. So when I was still building my Titan, I had multiple ways to try to reflect damage back to the Titan. And I beat the early days of the Titan. I beat him a lot just by using Tantrum's ability, and then later on I got the G1. I didn't have the G1 at the time, but that was my counter for the Titan. You know, he's already got good health, and I would just push him off to one side. Now the problem has become that with the FFD, you can't really counter it. And then, you know, that became more of a counter for him. It's tough for you to counter for the way that I would typically use Tantrum. The motion sensing mines, I mean, that could be kind of an advantage. If you guys have seen me against the motion sensing mines, sometimes I will sweep a bot out there that I know is going to survive. But I feel I consider that like a double counter. So it becomes difficult to want to use them. Now I will say this: the bots in the game that people don't really worry about in terms of warrior class bots, the bots that you don't worry about are, like, say for like Blot, you know, for you Autobots, that'll be Rook. You've never really worried about him because, you know what, he's not going to be affected by FFD. The key thing is that there was once upon a time when every warrior class bot was a rushing tank that had a shield, and FFD took that away. And FFD is the meta. So if you get that force field disruptor power core up there, you know, that there's only a handful of warriors that people use. People love to use hollows. So Blot, like I said, Blot and Rook, RC and Nightbird are still usable in the current meta. Dino and Dinobot 2 still usable in the current meta because of the hologram piece. Dinobot 2 just got, they just made the 5-star in the last patch. And, people got into a debate about how usable, Dino and Dino 2 are, but at the end of the day, they're not countered yet. And so that's what I started looking at more. But then I started looking at the combat bots that they made, like Fangtron. Fangtron made my top 10 list. Fangtron is a good warrior class combat bot. I did kind of get irritated with Baru. I did kind of get irritated at first with Zori. But then I thought about it and I said, well, I can put this on a special class bot. I can use this to go increase DPS on a warrior class bot. So let's look at some of my really, really good warrior class bots, because realistically speaking, I could use Zori on a Ramjet. I could use Zori on like an Impactor or a Sentius Malice, but could I use it on Ramjet and be effective? Yeah, I could, and it would be alright. I mean, he's got 832.9 in his current state. Then I look at stuff like Warrior Stun Immunity on the Titan Tech tree, and I said, well, man, they don't even want warriors to get stunned. Now, you might not be able to use their ability, but they'll probably be able to survive it. So now I was like, well, I put Vertebrae on my top 10 combat list, but I was like, do I need to use her if I use a warrior for the sack again? And the answer to that, honestly, is no. It gives you some flexibility if warriors become good in the meta again. And I will tell you from a playtester standpoint, that is the push that Space Ape is making right now. And I think that's a good thing. I think that each class needs to be relevant in certain situations. And I think a lot of times when we see the word situational for a bot, we've made that into a bad word. A situational bot is not a good bot. No, a situational bot is actually an excellent bot, because when the situation calls for it, a lot of guys are saying that they're getting bored in the current meta. When the situation calls for it, keep building those bots in the background. That is what's going to carry you through HQ18. When the war effects change, that's what's going to carry you through HQ18. Choosing the right combat bots, not investing too heavily. And I'm guilty of it. I stopped when I tried to pursue Crater Maker, and that was the last bot that I got in that batch, because he fundamentally changes the game. I stopped spending combat spark on everything else, because what happens is we get caught in a trap of just trying to make buy, and then something better comes out. So if you know that you're lacking in a certain area for your war teams, if you know you're lacking in a certain area, try to pursue those bots. And that's why you're looking at, when you look at my when you look at my shards, I'm saving 5-star crystals, because I'm in a position right now. The current meta, I'm doing just fine. I'm saving G metal cores. I'm doing just fine. I'm saving the prime shards. So yeah, man, like, this is what I'm saying. Those are the kind of things that I feel like prepare you for what I suspect the upcoming meta is going to be. The other thing that I've noticed is, let's go back to these combats again, because actually I'm going to go to the tech tree first. So some of the things that I noticed, there's been more of an emphasis on speed. So obviously for the Titan, you want to increase his speed. But then you got effects in here like standstill, increasing slowdown. So I see something like standstill come out, and then I see this. And you guys already know how I feel about this, but I'm going to show you anyway. And one of the things that I start looking at is combat bots. And this dude comes out. And so when I see patterns, hey man, they put a huge emphasis on slow down. Then they put a huge emphasis on speed up. So yeah, man, that's what I'm kind of looking at. Look at the patterns that Space Ape is showing you, and that's how you prepare for the next meta. All right, so checking out the chat. Just Elite says, yeah, Blur and Rhinox are my sackbots. Now alongside using smokescreen for sniping, had to change out. Who was that? Oh, okay, you had to change out because of strategies because of the FFD cores. Yeah, man, the FFD messed up a lot of stuff, and the thing is, when warriors were kind of dominating for a little bit, I mean, I had a lot of warriors, and I was like, and then they added not smoke screen. They started adding cutthroat smoke to the mix, and I was like, man, like that's taken away from that ability a little bit. So I said, all right, well, but then I doubled down on it because the way my team was set up, I was able to just take out the build bots and continue on and delay my cutthroat smoke, like I was talking about in my last video from Monday. So yeah, I think that's a direction that we're going in, and I think it's going to change some things. Mike Robertson says, when is the patch? Dude, honestly, I don't even think Space Ape is sure yet. So they have an official Discord server, and on that server earlier today, they said they kind of have like a cap on how many patches they can push through. And to be honest, there's been a lot of little glitches and bugs lately that they've had to push through. So I don't know the specifics on that, but they do say they're going to figure out how to do it soon. So typically when they try to go push something through, they typically push something through about once a week on Thursdays, just because they have new content. So maybe tomorrow they'll do something with the content push, but I can't say that definitely because they don't even know yet. So that's what we're kind of looking at right now. But yeah, man, so that's kind of my point of emphasis for today, in terms of preparation for your Titan tech tree. I think that, man, not your Titan tech tree, but for HQ18, I think Titan tech tree becomes important, and I think looking at the patterns for which bots, me personally, I think I'm gonna save. I think I'm gonna go back to those crystals, those 5-star shards. And now I'm up to the point now where I probably have about 2 5-stars that I can just keep. I think that I'm gonna hold on to those until about Christmas. And generally speaking, that's when a new set of and I'm looking at past history here. When I first started this channel last December, a new batch of 5-stars had just come out, and a new batch of ability 11s had just come out. I think I'm gonna wait to see how that goes first, to see if there's any glaring holes I have in my teams that I need in order to address anything that happens in HQ18. But other than that, I think the nucleus of my team is good to go. So yeah, man, I'm actually about to sign off. I got an appointment I had to go to today, and that's why I actually started my stream earlier than normal. Those of you who are on my Discord server, you already saw that that's what I was doing. But yeah, man, but for those of you who were able to join live a little bit earlier, definitely thank you for joining today. And I'll be back on Monday with a new video. That one won't be live, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we actually talk about on that one. I hadn't fully decided yet, but I got all weekend to think about it. So as always, thanks for joining. If you like my content, go ahead and drop a like in for this video. And then also, if you're not a subscriber already, go ahead and subscribe. And other than that, I'll see you next time, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Freezius out.